Welcome to More Action, the podcast for entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals. I'm your host, Shelly Bryan, and together we have candid conversations with industry leaders to uncover valuable wisdom and lessons learned. My hope is you use these lessons to intentionally take more action in business and life. I hope you share and enjoy. All right, welcome back to More Action here. And today's guest is one that I have been extremely excited to have on. Dr. LuLu is a distinguished naturopathic physician, and she's the clinical director at Kale Diagnostics. Now, what this conversation is going to be is not going to be like, oh, health, here's your 5-step checklist. We are going to talk all things health, biohacking. We're going to talk about getting to the root cause of things rather than just like, hey, here's a pill, here's a Band-Aid, and keep moving on. You know, as high achievers in today's society and just in the community and everything, we are going a million miles a minute. And as you all know, if you've been tuning in here on the show, if you do that, your body will tell you, I'm blind in my left eye because I didn't take care of my health as I was building my business. So it is really important to have this conversation while we have all those other business conversations too. Now, Dr. LuLu, I am again so excited to have you on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to, of course, talk about health and wellness. One of my favorite. I mean, of course, I talk about health and wellness all the time, but I love to be on podcasts. So thank you for having me and helping me spread the word so that we can help people feel better and better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's just it. It's right. We think like, okay, do the extra work, go the extra work, be busy, do all of that. But if you're feeling like horrible and if you're run down, the work, your outputs aren't going to be your best. And so you almost have to step back and be like, okay, let me actually take care of me. And then everything else that flows through it, when you're leading the teams, when you're building the business, when you are just being a mom or a parent, all of it is going to be better. So
yes.
I'd love for you to share, naturopathic. We talked off the show for a second before we jumped on, just how I'm a huge advocate, but I've also worked in Western medicine for 17, 18 years. And so I see both sides. I've had a naturopathic physician for over a decade and see the benefit. Could you help kind of summarize it for our guests, just for those that are still maybe on the fence or maybe had a bad experience with the naturopathic?
Yeah.
Like, how would you, kind of separate what you do versus like primary care or a specialist?
Right. Yeah. So that's a great question. So first, we are trained as primary care specialists, so we can function in that way. It kind of really depends on what that naturopathic physician, their kind of specialty and how they function. So just kind of like that piece, what you said. But let's talk about kind of the difference between the two models. So from the allopathic or traditional MD model, it's really a treating the symptom. So it's like you come in, let's say you come in with a headache, or let's say pain is great. Let's say you come in and you have a pain. You're going to have a pain reliever prescription, right? Something to help with the pain. And we know that we're in an opioid crisis, an epidemic. So obviously that's not working. So, but that's just one example. So anytime you come in, go to see an MD, one, it's going to be a short amount of time. They're just going to listen to your symptoms and give you most likely some type of drug, pharmaceutical for those symptoms. Now, in an emergent situation, that's great, right? You're like, okay, fabulous. I broke my arm. I need to have some pain relievers, et cetera. But if you're having, let's say, for instance, you're having a chronic disease, like an autoimmune disease, thyroiditis, Hashimoto's, there's not a quote unquote pill for that. And we don't want to treat the symptom because we want to treat the root cause. And that's where the naturopathic physician comes in. So we want to look and see what has gone awry in the body, right? Why are these symptoms coming to the surface? And usually they've been happening for much longer than the body than just that moment in time, right? It's like the phone call that you never listened to from you're like, oh, okay, I finally getting the message. And so once we finally get that message, then we usually go seek care. And then the naturopathic physician will say like, okay, What are some of the areas, let's say for thyroid is a great one to look at. Maybe you're having fatigue, maybe you're having weight gain, maybe you're having hair loss. We look at all the pieces together. Those are symptoms, but then the root cause is the actual thyroid gland. So how do we support the body in coming back, quote unquote, online, right? And working from that root cause. What are the other organs and systems that came out of balance way before the thyroid even came online?
I love that. And that's what I think it's not either or, it's and, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's where I think a lot of people get, and I've heard this, on both sides, like, oh, don't go there, don't go there, right? But I think as patients, and you're a patient too, even though you're a physician, you're a patient
Right.
too, right? Is in a business model too, you want to get as much information as you can so that you, the patient, or you, the business owner of your body, can make the best decisions. And
Right.
so I think that seeing both sides of it, getting to the root cause, I think is incredibly important and something we're already doing in our business, right? We are
Mhm.
always already doing this in our business or our career. Yet when it comes to our body, we're like, what's the quick fix? What's the quick
Right.
fix?
Yes, you
Right?
can't band-aid a problem in your business, right? Because then it will just like explode out another tube, right? Which is just what your body does too. If you're like, you're putting little band-aids on the pipe that has holes, of course you're going to spring a leak in another area. It's the same way with your body. You just have to really, you can't just band-aid. That's what, unfortunately, that's the medicine that we're looking at a lot right now in 2024 is band-aid medicine. And you have to empower the patient and the patient and also business owner, right, really needs to be able to take the driver's seat and understand about what's going on. It's not just like, oh, you have X and take this. You really want to understand your body and why it's happening and what you can do to improve it. And wellness and prevention is not just a pill; it's a lifelong, commitment. Like, if people just want to take a pill, it doesn't really work that way. Like, we
Mhm.
do have, of course, a lot of natural supplements and herbs and things that can help and you feel immediate relief, but it's not solving the root cause problem.
And I love
Mhm.
that, like that root cause problem. And so let's kind of stick on that for a second,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I mean, I think there are so many different like we just talked about, right? Like thyroid, you hear a lot of like thyroid is coming up right now. Obesity, like there's all these mental health challenges, there's all these other things. And like you said, it's like this band-aid. But this root cause stuff, how do you get down to the root cause? Like, what
Mhm.
does that look like when you're meeting with somebody? And let's say, I mean, listen, let's describe our like me, our listener, when we come in, we're busy.
Right.
I'm like already maybe annoyed because I waited 15 extra minutes for my appointment. Okay, let's be real here.
Right.
Like I'm frustrated because like I have a million things on my to-do list. I really don't want to be here, but I know it's important because I kind of am having some problems, but like how do we get down to that root cause and start taking action towards that?
Right. That's such a great question. So a couple pieces with that. One is my practice and the other practitioners I work with, we're all telemedicine. So we usually don't run late, which is because it's not like a
I
quote
love that you're
unquote.
calling that out. I love that you're
Right.
calling that out.
There's not a waiting room
Yep.
when you're in the telemedicine world. But I know that, and I've been in those shoes and waiting, and especially when you're busy as a mom, parent, busy business owner, you don't have the time, right? And you're like, I just want to feel better. So yes, I totally understand that. And two, when we're looking at the root cause perspective, that let's look at from the initial intake. And
Mhm.
that's when I'm from the naturopathic and functional medicine perspective, I'm gathering a ton of information. So it's the intake forms themselves are very long. They're like 25 pages. And from that, then I can see like, okay, let's say for instance, we are talking about thyroid, like you said, and weight loss or weight gain. Maybe there's some other issues there. Maybe there's some cardiovascular issues like rapid heartbeat. Okay, that's another system that might be out of balance. Let's say the person is having headaches, right? So I will look at all the different systems of the body that are out of balance. That helps to drive that root cause kind of formulation. But then I want to do functional medicine testing because you want to test and not guess always. So I want to see, okay, if it's a digestive system, maybe a person's having constipation, bloating, diarrhea, what's happening in the gut? Is there a leaky gut? Is the microbiome out of balance? How are the hormones? How's cortisol? I mean, there's so many different layers. And so it's not just one thing. But the intake form is what creates the canvas, right, on that painting to say like, okay, yeah, oh, there's a cloud up here. Maybe that cloud is out of balance, right? What about the layer? We call it the terrain, like the grass, the roots, the tree. What part of that is out of balance? Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. And I love that. It's so funny because I always think about health and, I've had a wild health journey myself. And I always look at it as a business and I'm the CEO and I'm like, how do I figure out what are the best things to get me to where I want to be? And
Mm-hmm.
one of those things is always like, okay, personal growth, education,
Right.
meeting with people, networking, like all of these things. But all of those things, I've walked into rooms when I've maybe been overweight or haven't taken care of myself, or my skin just looks dull, or my hair might be,
Mm-hmm.
just things might be going on, and I don't feel confident. Right. I walk
Mm-hmm.
in there and
Right.
I don't feel confident. And so I'm like, that's great that I'm doing all these things, but I'm doing it without confidence. I'm doing it without really being me and stepping into who I want to become. And I feel like as soon as I've had this conversation, obviously I'm very passionate about it, you can hear it, is that I've had this conversation with so many business owners, male and female. And once they start kind of making that turn and they feel it, and then they feel the confidence that comes behind it, it's like a game changer. It's like when you're leading a
Totally.
team and you see someone, the light bulb goes on and they understand their role to a new level. And you're like, aha, like you feel that too with yourself. And so, you know, as business owners, as leaders in our communities, leaders in our homes, there's one word that we hear a lot. And I want to kind of dive into it a little bit more, but I actually would love for you to share some like real like tactics, real things that people can do. And that word
Mm-hmm.
is burnout, right?
Burnout.
We're
Right.
we're halfway through the year. We're already in the second half of the year,
Right.
guys.
I know. I can't believe it.
I
July
can't
is
believe
here
it.
already.
I can't believe it at all. But burnout starts to setting in, right? And then, okay, we
Mhm.
have a little summer break, but almost summer break, I've had lots of conversations that it's causing more stress because people are trying to
Right.
manage kids and travel and all, but like still doing their job or running their business. And there's all these other things. So when it's supposed to be a time of relaxation, it's actually a time of increased stress.
Right. That's so true. Yeah, especially when you're in this busy state and you want to take care of yourself, right? But then you're so busy. What do you do? And I think that's the biggest conundrum that I hear from patients all the time. It's like they want to feel better, but how can they get there? Right. And I think that's like the bridge. Like, how can you get from illness or dis-ease, right, in your body to a place of feeling better? And that burnout is the bridge, right? You're like in this big bridge burnout, and maybe you try a couple steps on the bridge and then you go backwards. Like it's just always this back and forth. And I think when it comes to what I see the most when it comes to burnout is, again, what I was mentioning is about testing and really figuring out what part of the body is out of balance. Because burnout is, if you just look at the like fatigue, I think if we took a poll of your audience and we said how many people are feeling fatigued, it would be a really high number, right? And
Mhm.
I hear that from my patients all the time. Oh, I'm tired too tired to eat well, too tired to exercise, too tired to sleep, too tired to take care of my kids, too tired to make food. I mean, so it's like the fatigue is in all those areas, but what's, again, that root cause of the fatigue? Is it thyroid? Is it maybe that poor eating habits? Like, you're really busy, so you're eating fast food all the time, right? You're eating poor oils, poor quality meat, poor quality vegetables. Yeah. And sometimes it can be the simple things that to make the adjustment, but we want to look at, like, I always want to test hormones, cortisol, men and women, both of those things, because those two are, and thyroid, those three things I always test with fatigue. Because, what if you're moving into perimenopause as a female? Maybe as a male, your testosterone is totally in the tank. And you have no energy, no libido, right? And so that is you're like, oh, I'm just tired. I don't want to have sex because I'm tired, right? Well, maybe that's true, but there could be something deeper. So I think when it comes to burnout, we want to really dive into what's going on in the body, because you can't, again, that band-aid, you can't band-aid burnout with coffee. Right? There's a
No.
reason that the big S word is on every corner, right? Because
Hmm.
everybody wants to have that caffeine shot to help them keep going, but it actually backfires, especially in adrenal fatigue.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And the hormones, I mean, that's something that, and you talk about like with age, I'm 44 and I've
Mm-hmm.
had my hormones tested since having my first child. So that was 30. So that was
Mm-hmm.
like 30 because obviously as a woman, like you have a child, like things
Things
aren't the
change.
same
Right.
anymore. Let's just,
You're a whole
there's a,
different person.
there's a whole lot of things that aren't the same. And then age and stress and no stress and just like all these different things. And your
Yeah.
hormones constantly change. And that's one thing, we look at metrics in a business, right? We want to see what, our TAM is. We want to see what our ROI is. We want to see what our EBITDA is. We want to see all of these numbers because they tell
Right.
us data to make decisions. And blood work is just one moment of time, but it tells
Mm-hmm.
you so much. And then you can build upon it and you get more, you do it again. Like that's one thing
Right.
that it's like you wouldn't look at the metrics of your business once and then like 5 years later be like, we should probably look at them again and make sure we're on the right
Exactly.
track. You're probably looking at them daily, if not weekly, monthly. And our bodies are the same thing when it comes
Yes.
to blood work.
Yeah.
Now, so if someone's listening in right now and they're like, okay, I see the benefit of a naturopath. And listen, we're not trying to sell you in a naturopath. I'm trying to like help everyone listening in right now feel their best, right? And so let's
Right.
say that you're
Exactly.
kind of like, all right, this is kind of sounding like I am, and I want to find a naturopath or I want to find someone. And I know that you do tele, but let's say they want to go get blood work. What are
Right.
the main um, tests that they should ask for? Because I know that there is also a significant difference between asking for blood work at like your primary care versus a naturopath.
Yeah. And that's such it's a huge problem topic. I think because, and that, if you're going to see your regular primary care physician, they can only order what your insurance is going to cover. So it has to be coded and it has to be diagnosed. And so there's pieces. And so they want to order things that are out of that norm. But I send my patients with a list, because I have all my patients, I require they have a PCP on board just for the purposes of, if there's something that they need a quick prescription, then I'm not there. Right. And
Hmm.
so um, the piece is, I think you really want to be able to look at the blood work there's two things here. I'm making a point. So one, the primary care blood work is important. That's going to be your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your lipids. That's that snapshot that you mentioned. That's right. We're seeing that brief moment in time. Yes, this is how our body has been behaving over the past 90 days. That's what that snapshot is. Okay, great. We see that. But most of the time, we want to dive deeper and look at more numbers than our PCP might not order. And especially the thyroid, like we are mentioning, is a great example. Most of the PCPs or primary care physicians will just order a TSH, which is a thyroid stimulating hormone. And that just shows one little snapshot of how the thyroid is behaving. And so we want to make sure from that functional medicine perspective that we are ordering a whole or complete thyroid panel. That's going to show us how the thyroid is communicating with the rest of the body. And also if there's any autoimmune, like antibodies where there might be an autoimmune condition. And so that's one example of, we want to just see like the whole picture. When we just have regular, like I call it annual or wellness blood work done, it just shows us a very small snapshot, right? And it has a lot of great information, but what are the pieces we're missing? Right. And that's
Hmm.
where we want. And so that's what a functional medicine practitioner or naturopathic physician will look at and see like, okay, and sometimes those tests can be expensive. They're usually not covered. And so that can be a piece where we want to pick the tests that are going to give us the most information that will provide us the best path to understanding what's going on, right? Because they can range from $300 to $800, and out of pocket that can be a lot, right? Sometimes insurance will cover it, sometimes they won't. So, but anyway, the point is that you really want to make sure that you're looking at deeper tests, looking at a complete perspective of the body. And that's, again, that root cause perspective.
I mean, I think it's just so important. We keep coming back to that in a good reason, like for good reason. We keep coming back to that. And just one point, like on the cash, because I can tell you, for me, I've paid cash for all of the tests over the last decade. I just pay cash for it, but it is part of my like investment in me, like my,
Yes.
you have your, even when you're looking at your business, you're like, okay, how much am I going to put towards education this year? And whether
Right.
you're going to events or you buy a course or you join a group or something like that, that like taking care of you should be part of that budget. And
Exactly. Yeah. That's so important. You said that.
I think that it can't be siloed. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is like your
Right.
health should not be siloed from your business, from your family, from your relationships. Your health is like the first thing. And it's it can feel like, I can tell you from patient's perspective, and I know you're a patient too, even though you're a doctor, is and everyone listening has been a patient. Like sometimes you're like, holy cow, I'm paying cash here and there and that and all of this. If I could say anything, investing, look at it as an investment. Don't look at it as a
Exactly.
cost. It is an investment to help you perform better. And the more that you're going to buy that $2,000 course, or you're going to join that $10,000 mastermind or $50,000 mastermind and not think twice because you think that is the ticket to get your business better. What if you invested $2,000 annually into your health and you felt
Right.
amazing and your energy, right? That burnout feeling went away. Like, could you
Exactly.
imagine how much more you could do for your business, for your teams, right? For your being able to provide for your family. So I think that
Yeah.
is incredibly important. Now, one thing I just want to touch on, just to make sure that our audience is with it, because we've thrown out some words, right? Like naturopathic, and then you've mentioned the functional medicine side of it.
Hmm.
How would you explain the difference or the similarities of those two
Hmm.
words? I just want to make sure everybody's kind of on board with the terminology we've been using.
Yeah, that's a great question. I have been using that. So, a functional medicine practitioner is another certification or training. I'm also certified as a functional medicine practitioner. And so the difference I would say between the two, one, they're very similar. From the naturopathic perspective, we're trained a lot more on natural therapies. One piece is that, of course, a naturopathic physician goes through school a lot longer. It's a 4 to 5 year process. We're a physician. A functional medicine practitioner, it's an additional training that's added on. It's like a 1 to 2 years. It kind of depends on how you go through it and testing and things. So it's an additional training piece that is added on to your current training and the learning that your education you're already. So I'm a doctor and I have an additional piece. So that's one piece that's different. The other piece is that we use in naturopathic medicine, we'll use like homeopathy. We're much more trained in herbal medicine. We have, nutritional piece. We're trained a lot more nutrition and counseling. Like it's a much broader scope. From the functional medicine perspective, it's again with that add-on, it's you're already assuming that you have the knowledge, and then you're diving deeper into looking at why is the body dysfunctioning. Like if we, take the opposite word of functional, right? What has brought the body into a state of dysfunction, and looking at how, again, testing what methods can we use? It's evidence-based. What particular studies have been done, let's say like for vitamin D, how is it helpful? Or for the immune system, food sensitivity testing, how is that going to help the body with elimination diet? So kind of a expansion, an addition. It enhances, that's a good word, it enhances training. So the functional medicine perspective, which I think is a word that some people might even be more familiar with,
Yeah.
it's looking at the body from the physiological perspective. How is the body functioning at a cellular level? And that's again based for the systems, like the systems of the liver, the systems of the cells of the hormonal reproductive body, the cells of the brain, the cells of the immune system, right? How are they functioning, and what's happening why they're not functioning right?
Yeah. It's just like, I hope everyone listening in right now, just hearing how Dr. Lulu is explaining that, you can see the depth of thought. And I don't know about you. I'll say it on here. I'm not a huge fan of PCPs. I don't think that they serve much purpose. except directing you towards a specialist that can do more. And they're
Right.
just more order takers. And so when you go in there, they're like, how long have you had the symptom? How long has this been going on? Okay, what have you tried? What have you failed? When was the last time this? Like all it's just very mundane, I
Yeah.
guess. And listen, I'm not a fan. I have my own reasons. That being said, what I love is the depth of thought that you just shared. And that's what I hope everyone just kind of takes away from is that you have this depth of thought in so many different areas of life. Yet when it comes to health, we think like, give me the pill and move on. And
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be quick.
Yeah.
And I think that the more that we can just kind of open up a different perspective. And that's what I hope that this show is doing today, this episode, is just opening up a different perspective on health and how to actually dive in and how much is there for us
Mm-hmm.
to help. You mentioned nutrition, and I just listened to a different show where they had a Stanford Med graduate, and the entire Stanford Med, not one nutrition class, not one
Right. Not
coming
one,
out.
right? Yeah, they don't have it in their scope. It's just so heartbreaking. We have so much as naturopathic physicians and functional medicine practitioner. It's a huge part of our practice, and it should be because if someone comes in to see me, let's say they have high blood pressure and obesity, I need to know what is going to be helping them from a food perspective, not just like, oh, let me test your blood sugar and your blood sugar's off. Let me give you a diabetic prescription or medicine for diabetes. No, that doesn't help solve the problem.
Yeah.
We got to look at diet, exercise, nutrition, all of it together. And that's the problem that we're facing in our health epidemic is that we're not looking at the whole picture of the person, what are you eating on your regular basis? Of course, we can refer out to nutritionists for a deeper look, but we should have that basic knowledge within us as training, right? And I should be able to pick out like, oh, right away, like, okay, you're eating the a standard American diet. Of course, it's contributing to your high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and high blood pressure.
I mean, I heard a startling statistic on this show saying that 30% of I think it was 30 to 35% of American children are being diagnosed with diabetes versus in Asia, it's less than 3%.
It's horrible.
That's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's horrible.
that broke my heart because like adults, like y'all are making your own decisions, you know better. But like the children, they don't know better yet. And so
Right.
like we're responsible. Like I think that is my greatest responsibility is not only taking care of myself, but taking care of my kids and making sure that my
Mhm.
family is eating healthy. And
Yeah.
so like that is crazy because we talk about pill popping, right? What's the new hottest thing on the market for weight loss? I mean,
Ozempic.
oh my
Right.
gosh.
Right. That's a whole nother podcast
It
talk
is
right
a whole another podcast that we could talk about. But
there.
that's just people are like, I don't want to like, I just want my pain to go away, right? I just want to lose the weight. Like, give me the shot. I'll pay $800 a month. Like people will pay $800 to $1,600 a month for that. But getting blood work quarterly or semi-annually for $500 is too much, right?
Right.
And just making the choices. So I'm just calling y'all out because I was there
Exactly.
in the past too, but taking this time and making it part of your life's journey, right? Just like you
Yes.
don't start a business or you don't try to progress in your career to have like a stopping point. The point of this game of life is to make it infinite and keep playing the game. And so we're
Hmm.
going to learn, we're going to have different periods where we have high stress or low stress, and our body is going to react differently. But the more that we can educate ourselves and partner up and team up with a full team, right? Your Western, your PCP or your cardiologist, but also having your
Hmm.
naturopathic and your functional medicine doctor so that you have this team, this arsenal
Exactly.
behind
Hmm.
you. I think
Right.
that is something that we need to look at as like you're building a health team, just like you're building your team for your business or your
Right.
organization.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think, the wellness perspective is so important because you have to, like you said, invest in your health and then work with a team. And that's like at Kale Diagnostics. That's what we have. We have a team. We have MDs, we have NPs, we have naturopathic physicians, we have nutritionists, we have, so we have that team. And then the main point of that is that there's more than one eye, right, on you as a patient. And we're seeing you from that perspective, like, oh yeah, and we can communicate with the team, like, hey, we have this challenging patient. Well, what should we do? Can you take a look at this, right? Because everyone has this different training, and oh yeah, I would use this. This would be great, and we can communicate with it, and that's so important. And I think that's another piece that's missing a lot in traditional medicine, right? If you're going to your primary care physician, they're not going to have that like team support. It's very different, right? And when you're working in an integrative team model, and the other piece of that you mentioned too, Shelley, is that you want to be a part of the team. You want to
Mhm.
be on that team just as much as all of the team that you're choosing. Choose
Mhm.
the team that you love, that understands you, that supports you, but you want to be a key player on the team and help with the decisions like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Or why are you asking me to take this vitamin? Right? Like, tell me the why behind it. And then from there, I can say like, oh yeah, okay, I need a little bit more research. I don't quite understand why you're recommending that, right? The why is so important. And we call that docere, doctor is teacher. And that's a piece of naturopathic medicine that we teach all the time.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that so, so much. And everyone listening in right now, if you don't take anything else from today, Dr. Lulu just gave you permission to ask your doctor, no matter which type of doctor it is, why. If they are
Exactly.
prescribing something or if they are saying something is going on and you don't get it, just because they have a couple initials behind their name does not make it so that you can't ask them why.
Yes.
And if that person doesn't want to answer why, you need to find a new teammate. So,
Exactly. Yeah. If
so
they don't know the answer or don't want to answer, you need another doctor.
you need a new teammate. And so, like, please, if that's the one thing you guys take away from today, anything happens with the doctor, ask why. Ask why. If anything, it's going to help you understand that so that you stay more compliant. So
Right.
that is so, so huge. Now, you talked about Kale Diagnostics really quick, and I know that you're so busy, you're tapped out on like your private clinic, but Kale Diagnostics is a big part. And I love hearing that you have such a big team there that you can take a real collaborative approach to health. Where's the best place for everybody to follow along with you, to connect with you? If you want, obviously you do telemedicine, mentioned. So what is the best place for everyone to find you?
Yeah, Instagram I think is the best place. Social media. So my Instagram is Dr. LuLu Shimek. Super easy. Of course, my website is Doc Lulu. You can find out more there. And then Kale Diagnostics is at Kale Diagnostics. Super easy. And we have lots of different Instagram. We have like for kids, we have different programs. So we have different ones, which you can find out just by going to our main one. And yeah, we have a great team. We just alone we have 5 naturopathic doctors on our team, and we have 12 nutritionists. We have 2 MD. So yeah, we have a very large practice. And so we're able to see lots of different people all over the world, which is great. I love it.
That's incredible. And it's just showing the evolution of medicine altogether,
Mhm.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, I really love that. Now, I will make sure everyone tuning in right now, go to the show notes. I will make sure that everything is linked there so that you can follow along with Dr. Lulu. And even if it's that, like I want to tell you guys, even if it's that today, that you aren't ready to make the call. You aren't ready to like do it.
Mhm.
But you know what? If you start following some of these accounts or connecting with some of these people that can share information about health and actual practical tools, that is a step in the right direction. So get your toes wet, jump in there, follow along with Dr. Lulu and Kale Diagnostics, and that will get you started on the right direction. So
Yeah.
before we sign off here, I just have to say thank you. I love talking to other business owners, and we didn't even get into that discussion
Right.
today that you are a business owner too.
Yes.
You're a patient, you're a doctor, you're all these things, but what you are is passionate. Like I can
Mhm.
hear it behind you. And that is something that when it comes to health, we can't say it enough and we can't share our passion enough. And I know from a patient's perspective, a business owner, a mom, a wife, like I shout it from the lungs. But having people out there like you who are also doing the same from your end in providing that easy to understand and easy to implement, being able to work on adrenals, work on burnout, hormones, like all these other things. I
All
just
of
want
it.
to say, thank you for what you are doing and what you shared with us here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I wish that all the people tuning in just can understand a little bit more about how they can help themselves, right? That was, it's a great conversation we had today about health, but really like an eye opener into what is a step that they can take to understand their bodies a little bit better, right? And what was that book from, like Our Bodies, Our Wisdom? Is that from the 70s, I think? Anyway, it's like we want to have the wisdom to understand our bodies. And we've lost that way along the way of medicine. It's like, understand, okay, like look in the toilet. I always tell my patients, like, look in the toilet. That's your first thing you do in the morning. Like, how's your urination and how's your bowel movements? That's a key to what's going on inside. If things look off there, that's a big sign.
Mm-hmm. It can be that easy. That's the thing,
Right.
is that it can be that easy. I know that
Yes.
we think health, like we have to have this, like, I love how we're just rambling on here for a second, but it's so good. But I know with like health, it's like, oh, I have to have my 12-step approach, and I have to have my lemon water, and I have to meditate for 5 minutes, and I have to do like this checklist. Your
Right.
health is
Ding,
not a
ding, ding, ding.
checklist. Like, you do
Right.
not need to do that. But like, just do these simple things. Taking care of your health, it seems cumbersome at first, but so does anything new. But once
Right.
you get into it, you're like, dang, this is so easy. Why didn't I look at a menu now? I know how to make great choices when I'm going out with my friends. I want to have a cocktail. I know the cocktail that I'm going to order. That's a better choice than the previous cocktail I was ordering. Like, these small things you can still live and enjoy. It's not about restriction. It's much more just about smart choices aligned with what your body is telling you.
So true. I love it. Thanks, Bart.
But all right. Well, thank you. And don't forget, if you loved this, or you know someone that's kind of dealing with burnout or dealing with just like some not feeling great, share this episode out. Don't forget to tag both Dr. Lulu and I on it, and we will share it out, give you all of the love and support as you start your health journey while you're building your business and your career.